All right, I think we're ready to roll.
You're listening to Words Like That with Cole Powell, a storytelling podcast.
All right, folks, I'm Cole Powell. This is Words Like That. A couple of years ago, I did an episode of the podcast where I talked about 5 great but kind of under the radar Christmas movies that I recommend. And I thought this year I'd bring 5 more in. Before we get into the video, be sure to like, subscribe, comment on wherever you're watching or listening to this episode. Also, be sure to check out my top 20 iTunes charting Americana album, The Social Distance, featuring the award-nominated song Outlive My Life on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your music.
So keep drinking your whiskey, cause this song ain't for me.
Without further ado, and in reverse chronological order, here are 5 more under the radar Christmas movies that you should check out. First up is Klaus. Released by Netflix in 2019, Klaus is a modern 2D animated film that reimagines the origin of Santa Claus in a 19th century Norwegian setting. The film features an all-star voice cast including Jason Schwartzman, Rashida Jones, John Cusack, J.K. Simmons as the titular Klaus, and the late, great Norm Macdonald in his final film released before his death. The film is rendered gorgeously in 2D, traditional hand-drawn animation that's reminiscent of Disney but also has its own distinctive style. The story follows spoiled Norwegian postman Jesper after his postmaster general father exiles him to the remote island of Smearensburg and commissions him to establish a robust postal service among the island's illiterate population as they fight a generations-long blood feud. If that sounds like the craziest setup for a children's Christmas movie, it probably is. In the wilderness outside of the island's main town, Jesper meets Klaus, a childless widowed toy maker / woodsman whose gigantic physique is matched only by the fatherly affection he feels toward children. Desperate to meet his mail quota and return home, Jesper concocts a scheme to trick the town's children into writing Klaus letters asking for toys. But as the kids engage in increasingly nice behavior to ensure their wish list is fulfilled, the island begins experiencing a spiritual renaissance, and Jesper soon finds his own icy selfishness gradually melting away. I have one beef with this movie. It's minor and it's personal, and it's the same beef I have with basically any secret origin of Santa movie, which is we actually know the real origin of Santa Claus because the real guy's name was Saint Nicholas. And as a religious history buff, there's a part of me every time I watch this movie or any movie like it going, no, that's not how it happened. But it's a minor complaint. It does not take away anything from the quality of this film, and there are probably not going to be many, if any, who feel the same way I do watching this movie. If you and your kids like traditional animation and quirky takes on the Santa Claus mythos, this one might be for you. I give Klaus a 9 out of 10. Number 2, The Family Man. A 21st century Christmas fantasy in the vein of A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life, The Family Man stars Nicolas Cage as Jack, a bachelor and ruthless Wall Street executive. Jack is transported by an angel-like character, played by Don Cheadle, into an alternate life in which Jack married his high school sweetheart, played by Téa Leoni, and is now working in his father-in-law's tire shop as he and his wife raise their 2 children in the suburbs. Initially discomfited and angry, Jack gradually adjusts to life as a husband and father, becoming a better man in the process. Or does he? The film has everything a great fantasy Christmas movie needs: heart, humor, and magic, but packs enough of an edgy bite to keep the film from succumbing to the saccharine sappiness that bogs down lesser holiday flicks. For instance, while the film's conclusion is satisfactory, mild spoilers here, it ain't exactly candy canes and silver strings. The film's dark edge and more adult themes and content also puts it a bit outside of the family-friendly territory of similar films, so be warned before you watch this one with the kids. A solid 8 out of 10 Christmas flick. Number 3 from 1947, The Bishop's Wife. While classic movie buffs may be well acquainted with The Bishop's Wife, the average moviegoer is likely more familiar with its 1990s remake, The Preacher's Wife, with Whitney Houston and Denzel Washington. As with most remake cases, however, the original is better, and in this case, a holiday classic. The film stars Cary Grant as the angel Dudley, who comes down to Earth at Christmas time in answer to the prayers of Episcopal Bishop Henry, played by David Niven, struggling to finance a new cathedral. But as the charming Dudley gets friendlier with the Mrs. Bishop, Julia, played by Loretta Young, Henry's financial woes become the least of his concerns. The film isn't quite as sensational or risque as that synopsis suggests, because the script is firmly rooted in warmth and wit and clearly heads toward a morally satisfactory conclusion. Still, it doesn't shy away from the deeper themes of faith and fidelity, placed it a level higher than most of the Christmas fantasy fare. No film may be perfect, but as a Christmas movie, The Bishop's Wife rates a 10 out of 10. Number 4 from 1945, The Bells of St. Mary's. This is a film that flew even under my radar until a couple of years ago. A sequel to Bing Crosby's smash hit Going My Way, The Bells of St. Mary's finds Bing reprising his Academy Award-winning role as singing priest Father O'Malley, but singing much less this time around. In this film, all-time great Ingrid Bergman joins the fray as a no-nonsense nun who butts heads with the easygoing O'Malley over the direction of their parish's failing school. The film is a heavier, more dramatic venture than the others on the list, and it plays best for viewers who are already familiar with Crosby's O'Malley from Going My Way. But for classic Christmas buffs, The Bells of St. Mary's is a fine addition to the Christmas movie watch list. I give this film an 8 out of 10. Finally, what is, for me, the best picture on this list, Holiday Inn from 1942. Everybody knows the song White Christmas, and most people know the movie of the same title from 1954 starring Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, and Rosemary Clooney. But many may not realize the song debuted on screen 12 years earlier in another Bing Crosby flick, Holiday Inn, this one co-starring Fred Astaire. While White Christmas is the central song of the picture and several important sequences take place during Christmas time, Holiday Inn is a rare, all-encompassing holiday flick that features off days from New Year's Eve to Washington's birthday to Easter and beyond, each with its own musical number. The plot and character dynamics are relatively complex, with Bing playing Jim, a crooner looking for a quieter life after his fiancée Lila leaves him for their best friend and dance partner Ted, played by Fred Astaire. When Jim decides to start an inn that's open only on holidays, he attracts aspiring performer Linda, who in turn attracts the nose of Ted, who has now also been dumped by Lila. A hilarious blend of romance and comedy ensues, intermingled with delightful performances of holiday-themed Irving Berlin songs. There is one musical sequence in this movie that at the time was considered humorous and progressive, but today would not be received that way at all. And it's a shame, because the music of the number, which is kind of dark jazz, is probably the best piece of music in the film, which is why it's reused in White Christmas later without the lyrics. So if you're going to check this out, just be warned about this particular sequence going in. There's also a whole lot of interesting behind-the-scenes history to dig into, like the film inspiring the Hotel franchise, and Danny Kaye only joining White Christmas because Fred Astaire passed on the movie after he read the script. But those are stories for another time. The bottom line for this movie, it may not be greater than White Christmas because it hasn't had the cultural impact or robust longevity. But from the plot, the script, acting, and the music, Holiday Inn is a superior Christmas movie in every way and sits as a must-watch for any classic Christmas film buff. I give Holiday Inn a 10 out of 10. All right, and that is this list, and that's this episode. What do you think? Have you seen any of the movies on this list? Have you seen all the movies on this list? You love them or you hate them? You like some, you don't like others? If you haven't seen them, are there any that pique your interest that you may check out? Let us know in the comments wherever you're getting this episode. Again, be sure to like, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, click the bell for notifications. Have a Merry Christmas, and we will see you next time.
Can't have no words like that. Theme, Words Like That by Cole Powell. Lead in by Ryan Purser. From Wicked Woman by Four Way Stop. Original cover photo by Kelly Bagwell. Recorded at Randomine Records. Section 107 of U.S. copyright law allows for the fair use of copyrighted material for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, parody, or research.